Hello everyone. Welcome to the lecture 4 of microprocessor and peripheral interfacing. In this lecture, we are going to study about the register organization of 8086 microprocessor. So let us have a look at this. 8086 has all the 16-bit registers present in it, and all these 16-bit registers are total 14 in number. So we have 14 16-bit registers in 8086. These 14 registers are divided into two categories: the general purpose registers and the special purpose registers. The general purpose registers are used for temporary holding the data, variables, and the intermediate results which are obtained after the operation by ALU, for other purposes like holding the counter value and so on. Whereas the special purpose registers are used for the specific functions, like for holding the base address of the segment registers, for holding the offset address of the segments, and so on. So we have divided them into two categories. There are four general purpose registers: AX, BX, CX, and DX. We will see in detail about these registers in the coming slides. And also in the special purpose registers, we have segment registers, index and pointer registers, and flag register. All the special purpose registers are 16-bit registers. So let us look into this in detail. So as we have seen, there are two basic categories: general purpose and special purpose. This can be further categorized into four parts. The register organization in 8086 is divided into four subparts. The general purpose registers are AX, BX, CX, and DX. Then the segment registers are SS, CS, DS, and ES. The pointers and index registers in 8086 are SP, BP, IP, SI, and DI. We will see the function of all these registers and their full forms in the next slides. And the fourth one is the flag register, or the PSW, that is program status word. So coming to the general purpose registers, the AX is a 16-bit register. A stands for accumulator. Accumulator generally contains by default one of the operand for many operations which are done in the arithmetic and logic unit, that is ALU. So AX is called as a 16-bit accumulator of 8086 IC. Now this AX can be divided into two 8-bit registers, namely AL and AH. The L stands for lower byte of the AX, and H stands for higher byte of the AX. And this AL can be used as an 8-bit accumulator for 8-bit operations. So accumulator is a very important general purpose register. Then we have a BX. The B stands for base. Generally, this BX is used for storing offset storage address for forming the physical address. As we have seen that physical address is of 20-bit, but the logical address is of 16-bit. So we combine the base address and the offset address to form the physical address. So this BX is used as an offset storage for forming the physical address in case of certain addressing modes. In the coming lectures, we are going to study addressing modes in detail. While studying that, we will see the function of BX properly. So this BX is again a 16-bit register. Then coming to CX, C stands for counter. The CX register, even though we can use it as a general purpose register for storing any intermediate data or variable, but its main function, it is used as a default counter in case of string and loop instructions. In case of loop instruction, where we want to repeat the function again and again, in that case we store some counter value for how many times do we want to repeat it. So that counter value is by default stored in this CX register. Then we have a DX register. The D stands for data. So DX is used as an implicit operand or destination in case of few instruction. That means in this register we store, it is considered as a destination register in many of the instruction. That means the result by default comes in this DX register. So these were the general purpose registers of 8086, and all these four registers AX, BX, CX and DX can be divided into two 8-bit registers, namely ALAH, BLBH, CLCH and DLDH. L in all the cases indicating lower byte, H indicating the higher byte. So this was general purpose registers. Next, coming to the segment registers. As we have seen in the previous lecture, the memory, the 1 megabyte of memory in 8086 is divided into 4 segments: the code segment, data segment, stack segment and the extra segment. We have seen the purpose of each of these segments, and in order to point at the location in any of this segment, we require a 20-bit address, but all the registers in 8086 are 16-bit. So as I said earlier, we have to combine the base address and the offset address. So these segment registers are basically used for holding the base addresses of these four segments. For example, let us see SS. This SS is a stack segment register. It will hold the base address of the stack segment of the memory. The CS stands for the code segment register, and it will be used for holding the base address of the code segment. And as we all know, the code segment generally stores the executable programs in it. DS stands for the data segment register, and this data segment register stores in it the base address of the data segment of the memory, and the data segment stores the data values in it. ES stands for extra segment register, and this extra segment register stores the base address of the extra segment part of the memory. And extra segment is nothing but an additional data segment which can also be used to store the data when your data segment is full. So this was all about the segment registers. Now coming to the pointers and index registers. These pointers and index registers are generally used for storing the offset address. For example, if you will see IP, IP stands for instruction pointer, and this instruction pointer register stores the memory location of the next instruction to be executed. Means if we are performing any execution, while the current execution is going on, what is the next instruction we want to fetch or we want to execute? The location, the memory location of that particular next instruction is pointed by the IP, and it also contains the offset within the code segment. That means we have seen for the code segment, the base value, base address is stored in CS, and the offset address will be stored in IP register. Similarly, the base pointer BP register contains the offset address of the data segment. The stack pointer register contains the offset address of the stack segment. Okay, so the pointer registers generally consist of the offset address for the particular segment. Then coming to SI and DI. Now these index registers, they are used as general purpose registers as well as the offset storage in case of the particular addressing modes. Now we have to go through that addressing modes. There are various different types of addressing modes like indexed, base indexed and relative base indexed addressing modes. In these three addressing modes, the location, memory location is not specified directly, but it is indirectly stored in some register. Okay, so in that case, these index registers are useful. Now let us see SI. S stands for source. The source index register is used to store the offset of source data in the data segment. and DI is used for storing the offset or destination in the data segment or the extra segment. Destination means where you want to store, the offset address of that location will be in DI, and if we want to read from that location, in that case the offset address will be stored in the source index register. Okay. Now the last register is the flag register. It is also called as the program status word. Now, what is the function of this flag register? It is simply used to indicate the status of whatever operation has occurred in your ALU. Okay, that is why it is called as the program status word. Word stands for 16-bit. Program status stands for the status of the result which is obtained after the execution of the program. Okay, so this flag register is a 16-bit register, and every bit of this register is called as a flag. Now, if you will see, many bits in this flag register are written as U. That U stands for undefined. That means in this particular version of 8086, that particular bits have no function or no meaning. Maybe when they were developed to the next version, these bits have find some meaning. So currently, we will concentrate only on the bits which are defined. Now, these bits which are defined are categorized into two classes. One is the conditional flags and the others are the control flags. So the one which you are seeing in the red color comes under the category of conditional flags. Conditional meaning after execution of the arithmetic or logical operation by ALU, whatever result is obtained, what is the condition or status of that result, that is indicated by this conditional flags. And control flags, which are indicated by the blue color, by its name you can come to know that it will control the operation of 8086. Okay, so let us see the conditional flags one by one. CF stands for carry flag, PF stands for parity flag, AF stands for auxiliary carry flag, ZF stands for zero flag, SF stands for sign flag, and overflow flag. Now, it is very simple. For understanding the meaning of this, we will consider the addition of two 16-bit numbers or addition of two 8-bit number. Let us consider, if we are adding two 8-bit numbers, the result which is obtained after addition will be stored in the accumulator. Now, if while addition there are 8-bit numbers, so the MSB will be the 8th bit. If that 8th bit is generating a carry, result का जो MSB है, if it is generating a carry, that will be indicated in this carry flag. If the operation is generating carry, this carry flag will be set. If your operation is not generating carry, the carry flag will be reset, that is 0. Okay. Now parity flag stands for the even parity, and parity is nothing but the number of ones in the result. Now after addition, whatever answer you have got, you have to count the number of ones present in it. For example, out of the 8-bit, I have 5 ones and 3 zeros. That means the number of ones are odd. If my number of ones are odd, it is called as odd parity. For odd parity, this parity flag will be 0. And for even parity, this parity flag will be 1. Okay. Now coming to the auxiliary carry flag. Now in 8 bits, the lower 4 bits are called as nibble. Now in performing the addition, if a carry is generated from the lower nibble to the higher nibble, that means from the 4th bit to the 5th bit, then your auxiliary carry will be set. If it is not, if the carry is not generated, this auxiliary carry flag will be 0. Okay. Now coming to the 0 flag. If the result obtained after the addition contains all the bits as 0, that means your entire answer is 0. In that case, this zero flag will be set. But if it is having any non-zero bit, your answer is non-zero. In that case, the zero flag will be reset. Okay, that means it will be 0. Coming to the sign flag, as we know that in the signed numbers, the negative numbers are indicated by 1 in the MSB. So similarly, when you perform any operation and in the MSB you get 1, in that case, your sign flag will be set. If your MSB is 0, this sign flag will be reset or it will be 0. Then coming to the overflow flag. In case of C, all the capacity of our registers are 16-bit. If after any operation, all the 16 bits are full and still a value of a result is generated more than the 16-bit, in that case, the overflow flag is set. Otherwise, it is reset. So these were your conditional flags. If you will see the 8085 processor, these conditional flags were same in 8085 also except the overflow flag. Now coming to the control flags, these control flags, the value of these control flags control the operation of your 8086. Let us see one by one. Trap flag, interrupt flag and the direction flag. When you keep that trap flag as 1, then your 8086 executes in the single mode. The execution is single mode step by step. That means it will generate the result after execution of each step and it will have a small interrupt or a small interval after execution of each byte. That is called as the trap flag. If it is 0, it will not work in single step execution mode. It will, without any interrupt, it will generate the entire instruction bytes which are coming to it. Then coming to the interrupt flag. Now, we are going to study the interrupt structure in 8086 in coming lectures. Interrupt is nothing but a disturbance coming from the external peripheral to the 8086. So the peripheral request to the 8086 for the service. Now, if we have enabled this interrupt flag, that means we have made this interrupt flag as 1, then the other peripherals can interrupt the processor. If we have made this interrupt flag as 0, then no peripheral can interrupt the processing of your processor. Okay. Then direction flag. Direction flag is used to indicate the process, whether your string is operated from LSB to MSB or MSB to LSB. In which order it will be processed, that is indicated by the direction flag. Let us see this. As we have discussed, this is written over here, sign flag MSB 1 hai to it will be set. 0 flag, if your total value of the result is 0, then 0 flag is set. If the carry is generated from lower half to the upper half, then auxiliary carry will be set. If your answer has even number of ones, that is even parity, in that case, this will be set to 1. Carry flag, if after the operation carry is generated from the MSB, then it is called, then this carry flag will be 1. Overflow, when the result of a signed operation is too large to fit in the register, then this overflow flag will be set. These are the control flags. D, as we have seen, it is a direction flag. If we set a D equals to 1, then the string will be accessed from higher memory address to the lower memory address. String is nothing but the sequence. If we want to access any string, if we access it from higher memory address to the lower memory address, in that order D will be 1. If we have kept D as 0, then we will access the string from lower memory address to the higher memory address. I, as I said, if it is 1, then MPU means your processor, 8086 processor will entertain the interrupt from the peripherals. If it is 0, it will ignore all the interrupts. And T stands for trap flag. When t is equal to 1, your 8086 processor will work in a single step mode. That means after each instruction, it will generate one interrupt, one internal interrupt. Okay, so that was all about the register organization of 8086. I hope all the concepts are clear. See you in the next lecture.